Welcome everyone to the audio edition of Mind, Body, Soul. I'm Gary Summers, and I have a special guest this afternoon to talk about her work as a Reiki master, as a yoga instructor, and to talk about TRE. Welcome, Carolyn Hapgood.
Thank you, Gary. Thanks for having me on.
So, what can our listeners expect to hear this afternoon?
Well, I'm going to explain, I guess, how I approach wellness with my clients when they come in. You know, I've been a counselor since 1992, and I have gone to counseling since that time myself. It was like part of the way I wanted to operate. I didn't want to be leading someone through something I hadn't gone through myself. So over the years in my own counseling, my own personal counseling, I found that talk therapy, I found it okay. You know, I shouldn't say okay, I found it awesome.
Because you do talk therapy as well, right? You're
Yes,
a licensed psychologist.
I'm a counselor.
A counselor, okay.
Counselor.
Besides everything else, right?
Yes,
Okay, so
yeah.
you run the full gamut.
And so in my own personal experience, I found it easy to talk to people. The counselors were excellent. But there was always something missing. So when I incorporated my own physical body in therapy and started working with my energy, you know, receiving from other practitioners, I felt better overall. So I just I'm going to bring that, how I bring that now into my therapy when working with other people.
Because it's certainly a unique approach to be able to blend that talk therapy. Because when we look at what you're going to talk about, when you sent it to me, you said blending psychology, yoga, and Reiki for modern times.
Yes.
So
yeah.
that's a very unique approach, certainly.
So, Carolyn, can you walk us through the term energy work and how you use that in your practice?
So we are energetic beings, basically, when it comes right down to it. Our heart, we're electricity, we have impulses. So how you work with the energy of someone, I'm going to explain the energy of someone first. So we are in an auric field. It's all around us. It's our energy. We also have what's called chakras. So chakras are spinning vortexes, little circles around our spine, from our base of our spine to the crown of the head. We also have what's called meridians, or some professions call them nadis. And they're like little energy highways, almost like blood vessels that run throughout our system, all the way down through our fingers, toes, the whole body. Well, like what acupuncture, they're tapping into energy centers and energy meridians, right? So what Reiki does is it works with this system, the energy of us, because we are energetic beings. And basically, Reiki will balance out your energy, clear out things that, things get blocked off or shut down, certain parts of our energy system, just like anything at all, anything else to do with the body. And Reiki is one tool. There's other energy tools to help balance out that system. Yeah, clear it out, make so that the energy flows freely throughout our whole body and throughout our auric field.
And I guess that's part of the stigma behind kind of a holistic approach. You can't really see, many people can't see their energy system, just like when you kind of compare it to mental health. You can't really see, you can see a broken bone, you can see something, an illness, but you can't really see the mental side of things. So Reiki kind of taps in. And what would you say to people who say, would it work on someone if they don't believe it?
Yeah, well, that's interesting. It can. It does work better if you are open and receptive to receiving Reiki energy.
Absolutely. Because
we can block things out, on purpose. So it does work better. But I have had people come to me who, a lot of people come not knowing what Reiki is or how it's going to affect them. So I've had a lot of people come who are absolutely surprised by how they feel after, they'll say, wow, I feel lighter. I feel really, really different. I feel more clear. I can think a little better, And those people, I find that they come back once a month. Some people come back every 2 weeks, just to sort of like a little tune-up.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Carolyn, explain to listeners how that actually would work, kind of go through a typical session that you do.
So they come in. I have a massage table. Now I don't. I'm not a massage therapist, but I have a massage table. So the person comes in, lies down on the table, fully clothed, blanket up over you, so you're nice and comfortable. Because often, as you are receiving Reiki energy, you'll go into. It's like a sleep. It's like a trance. It's like an altered state of consciousness in some ways. So you're really comfortable, and the practitioner works with you. Yeah, so you're walking. The practitioner is walking around the person with their hands either touching lightly the person, if the client is okay with touch, or the hands are hovering above the person and working with their energy centers.
And the client can actually feel that?
They can, yeah. There's a lot of sensations that you can feel when you're receiving Reiki. And the way that I start with someone who's never received it before, I say, just be aware of any sensations. I want you to notice what experience you have today. I don't explain, well, this might happen, you might feel this or that, because the power of suggestion then sort of robs the authenticity of it. Yeah,
absolutely.
And then they might say, well, I felt this and that, but she said I would. So,
you're right, yeah.
And then they don't believe.
Yeah.
So I just say, look, you have your own experience, and you tell me what you experienced after.
Mm-hmm.
So it's much better that way.
A number of years ago, I started reading about energy, and I found this course that I did. I found it amazing. It was called Psych-K, Psychological Kinesiology, and what it is basically is another form of being able to balance when you're out of balance.
Mm-hmm.
It was very interesting. Bruce Lipton wrote a book called The Biology of Belief, and he says it's not our heredity or our environment, it's our beliefs. And when you have negative beliefs, you kind of throw your body energy out of balance. We talked about the body has its own story. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit more for our listeners on that?
Absolutely, Gary. I find that especially in modern times, people interpret that their mind is separate from their body, almost like we're cut off from the neck down type thing. But obviously that's not the case. So, just like we have a memory, you can think back to times in your life, the body has like a memory too, because no matter what we've experienced in our life, our body was there as well. So our body is a part of it. And when we think about getting well and mental health, we usually think of talk therapy only,
Mm-hmm.
or a lot of people do.
That's the traditional way it's always been for
Yes.
how long, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, the body has a part in it too, and trauma in particular can get, it's like being stuck or lodged in the body. So when I was, throughout my different years of working with people as a talk therapist, I came to realize that the body has a completely, has its own story. The body needs to release as well as the mind. And so I went back to school then, and I went to the UK, and I went to the United States and Canada, all over the place getting training to involve the body in therapy. So I involve yoga. I'm a yoga teacher, but I'm also a yoga therapist. So yoga therapist is a little different. Is more training involved, many more hours of training, and an internship. And basically, how a yoga therapist helps people is, rather than going into a yoga class that you're expected to do all the different poses and moves and all the different things, as everybody, the yoga therapy designs a session based on your specific needs as an individual. So that's really easy to bring into therapy, because you're involving the person's body and what the body has been exposed to.
Okay, so the difference is regular yoga is group, yoga therapy is one-on-one.
So it can be groups as well. So for instance, I do a weekly yoga session with the Parkinson's patients for the Parkinson's Society. So you can have a session for people who are going through the same thing. I hold another weekly group for people who have had, PTSD or PTSD-like symptoms. So, you can have groups, but they're for a specific population.
How have you found the results for PTSD?
So that's really interesting. The results have been really, really good. This is where, at the beginning you explained the TRE
Right.
and neurogenic yoga. So I'll take the opportunity now to talk about that. So TRE stands for tension and trauma releasing exercises. It was developed by a man called Dr. David Berceli, and there's all kinds of information on the internet about him you can look up. And he developed TRE specifically for people, for the military originally, with PTSD, and he has PTSD himself. And so what TRE involves is you do a number of exercises, physical exercises first. They're not overly stressful. They can be modified for anybody, any injury, anything at all. And then after it's almost like just a little warm up, getting your mind, your focus down into your body. After we do those exercises, then you tap into the body's natural response to shake, to tremor. So if you think about anytime someone's nervous or angry, upset, so any overwhelm
Sure.
of the emotional system, we tend to shake. Your hands shake, your lip might quiver, and that's not something that we teach our kids. We're not taught to do that. It's a natural primitive instinct. This happens in the brain. Animals do it. Animals shake if they're like, I have a golden retriever. She's terrified of thunder and lightning and fireworks. She shakes like a leaf in the moment when she's stressed, and then once it's done, she stops shaking. It's past. But humans have the same mechanism. So what generally happens is the older we get, we judge this shaking, and we think like, oh my gosh, well I can't shake. I'll look weak. I don't want to look vulnerable. I don't want to be embarrassed. So we hold our muscles tightly, and it stops us from shaking. So what TRE does is it provides the organism, your body, to release stress and tension, because we will tap into this shaking response. So to go back to the process of it, you do these 6 exercises, and then we'll take either a seat in a chair or lie on your back on the floor, and we will induce this tremor mechanism. It's quite fascinating. It's very, very unique. And it's quite effective for calming the nervous system down again. So it brings the nervous system back down to more towards like a calmer baseline type of nervous system. Because generally people who have had a lot of trauma or are very stressed, they're on high alert.
Sure.
Always looking around the corner type thing for the next thing that's going to throw them off.
Expecting that trigger to happen.
Always. And
Yeah.
living with that. So your nervous system is always, I say, it's always ramped up. So what this mechanism does, this tremor mechanism, is that it calms. So the nervous system, the body actually gets a release of tension. And at the end, we do it for, say, 20 minutes, and then we stop. And the effects, the benefits are things like just a real deep sense of calm that a lot of people haven't experienced or haven't in a long time.
Well, they live with that trauma as soon as their eyes open, right?
Yeah.
And stay with it until they close their eyes at night.
And I would argue even during their sleep,
Yeah, sure,
because your body is
Sure.
always on alert.
Yeah.
And that's why sleep patterns are so interrupted, right? So that's one of the effects people generally find, that they sleep better.
Yeah.
Takes the edge off. So it's one of the things that I find, things that like little daily things that might irritate you, and you're wondering like, my gosh, why does that little thing irritate me so much? That just disappears for a lot of people because they're starting from a calmer state.
And, if you've never been taught how to relax, then you don't know how to relax.
People say to me, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I'm in a class and I'm hearing the teacher or yoga teacher say, relax the muscles, and they're saying,
how
I
do
have no reference point. How do you do that?
How do I do
So
that,
true.
right? So, listeners, if you really want to learn how to relax, and we've got the answer for you. We were talking about tree and how you work with different types of clients. Can you just? I think you wanted a little bit more to say about that.
Yes, I just wanted to tie up what we were talking about with the TRE, the tension and trauma releasing exercises, and neurogenic yoga, because they're very similar. Neurogenic yoga actually came out of TRE. So the difference is with TRE, we do 6 exercises first, and then we move into this tremoring mechanism that I described.
Can you just kind of explain to people the process that you went through from the time you decided to take this path until your current level with Reiki, just to give listeners an idea of the amount of education that you've gone through to provide your clients with top level experience?
I started my Reiki training here in Newfoundland with Nora Squires. I did a couple of courses with Nora. So I did Reiki level 1 and level 2 and advanced here. Then I decided to go over to Glastonbury in the UK and study with William Lee Rand, and he's like the big Reiki guy on the planet at the moment. So I did advanced again over in the UK with him, and the Reiki master level. And we were actually trained in Stonehenge, in the center of the stones, was part of our training. So that was quite the experience for me. So when I came back from there, I was a Reiki master. So there's a difference between a master practitioner and a master. So after advanced training, you can be called a Reiki master practitioner, but there is another level after that called Reiki master, and then you're allowed to teach. So I did those. And then the following year, I went back to the UK and Stonehenge again, and did more training in the center of the stones again, and did Karuna Reiki, level 1 and 2, and then a Karuna Reiki master over there in Stonehenge. So my designation is Holy Fire 2 Uzui Reiki Master and Holy Fire 2 Karuna Reiki Master. So I have two master levels. So this is it was a fair bit of training and a lot of investment, but awesome, amazing experience.
So what that really gives your clients is such a much broader aspect of Reiki, that you're able to tap into so much more knowledge that you've received over the length of time. How long did it take you to get from point A to where you are now?
Yeah, a couple of years. So yes, and it is, you can start working with people after you have Reiki level 1, which is about 8 hours, 8-hour course. And the process that I went to was, was much longer. It took me 2 years to get this, I guess, level of Reiki.
As a counselor and spending so much time in talk therapy, you decided you wanted to go into the body aspect of it. Many people around doing what you do?
There are lots of alternative therapies and therapists. There are more and more people coming on board all the time, thankfully. There's no one in Newfoundland who has the same skill set that I have, but yet there are a lot of alternative therapists, which is great. I encourage anybody, if you're interested in becoming a counselor, or anybody who already is a counselor or a psychologist or social worker, the mental health industry will say, I encourage people to add alternative therapies to their practice. So the demand is really, really high, because there's a lot of stress in our lives.
Sure, absolutely.
And when people are finding that releasing from their body and getting their energies balanced, as well as talking, well, and not only that, having the option to talk or not when they come to me, when people are finding that things are effective, then the floodgates open, and there's a lot of people really interested and coming. There's a high demand.
I'm sure you must have lots of testimonials.
Many, many testimonials. I know one person in particular was doing some therapy for a long time, that talk therapy, sorry, and found that Reiki was the most effective for that particular individual. She always says, I've gotten more out of Reiki than any time that I've spoken to, about to anybody. When someone comes to see me, we determine, what are you hoping to gain? How do you want to go about it? Do you want to talk? Do you want to do Reiki? Do you want to involve the body? Or do you want to do a blend? Because a lot of people do not, especially people with PTSD, they do not want to talk.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. So we start with the other systems. So when people are, I always say, when you're on your way to the session with me, think about, what do you want to do today? And then we decide when they get there. And it's a different blend of things for different people. Everybody's different. And we're different on each day. So some days people come in saying, oh my gosh, I really need to talk today. Other days they come in, they say, you know what, I don't have the energy to talk. I need something else. So we do something else.
We talked a lot today, and I'm sure you've opened up people's eyes to alternative therapies as to what's available. If you had some advice to leave our listeners with, what would that be?
I think that in the way our society, the way we all operate these days, in modern days, we're all really busy, really stressful times. I think that if you're trying to, if you're looking for healing, or even if you're just trying to maintain a healthy lifestyle, I think it's really important to include the whole system. Your mind, your emotions, your body, your energy centers, your spirit, everything is involved. It's all part of the equation. And when we do that, when you address all levels of your being, suggestions like living in the moment, hearing people make statements like, oh, life is a journey. You have to be, you have to be part of this journey. It's not like you get somewhere. So statements like that make more sense. They're more accessible. You can actually have more success with things like being in the moment when you address all levels of your body.
And I remember reading somewhere that some social psychologist said that to be really happy, you need to live almost like 85% of your life in the moment.
Yeah.
Not worrying about what happened yesterday or worrying about what could happen tomorrow. And so, any particular advice on how do you live in the moment when you've got issues?
Well, that is certainly a very large question when we only have a minute left. Well, like I said, always having a regular routine that involves all parts of you. Because living in the moment, that's hard to do. That's really far-fetched for people if your body is agitated.
Absolutely.
Or if your mind is agitated. So taking care of yourself on a regular basis with exercise, eating properly, feeding your body the proper fuel, talking, working with your energy, all these things, and doing it regularly, then living in the moment will be possible.
And having a reason to get out of bed in the morning, I think is so important, to have a passion, to have something, because your brain can only focus on one thing at a time, right?
Yes.
So if you've got your mind focused on some energy work or doing something, then the other stuff kind of you forget about it. And it doesn't seem to be as much of a bother. But if you spend your day focused on what's wrong,
yes,
then that's going to get bigger.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you, Carolyn. It's been a pleasure having you, and I wish you well, and you're doing great work.
Great, thanks for having me on.